Hello there, Internet. We are Will and Dave with the SimGeeks podcast, and we are joined here at IMSH by Melissa Lowther, who is the outgoing chair of the SOTS group, as well as one of the SSH fellows for this year, as well as Amy Follmer, who is the incoming chair of SOTS, and they're going to come talk to us about what the Simulation Operations and Technology section is, how to get involved with that, what your membership means. But first, as we always do, Melissa, why don't you give us a rundown who you are, where you come from, and your involvement, in simulation in general, but also here at the Society.
Sure. So I'm Melissa Lowther. I'm based out of Portland, Oregon. I started in simulation about 10 years ago now, actually, give or take my memory. So I started in operations in a nursing school, and I moved around a bit, did some interprofessional work, helped open a new med school in Idaho, did some field work and some crazy things like that, so always on the operations and technology side. When I left school, I thought I would never have to deal with networking again, and that was basically the bane of my existence for all of my years as an operations person. So about 3.5 years ago, I joined CAE Healthcare as a learning space and audiovisual solutions specialist. So I'm actually now doing all digital solutions for CAE. So for the Society, I am one of the fellows. I was inducted this year. The outgoing chair for SOTS, which, if you're not sure, is the Simulation Operation and Technology section. And I have a few other roles. I work on the content teams for the meetings, and I'm the chair of the Certified Healthcare Simulation Operations Specialist Education team.
And as you step out, Amy is stepping into your existing position. So Amy, give us your introduction and background as well.
Yeah, so I'm Amy Follmer. I work at the Zamierowski Institute for Experiential Learning. We're in Kansas City, Kansas. I got started in Sim probably about 10 years ago also, about 2012. I started and I spent 3 years with an LPN program at a community college. I'm doing a little bit of Sim part-time as I was going to school for actually a degree in journalism. Got to the end and really decided that simulation was a better fit for like a long-term career, and that the hours and the pay would be better. So I landed a role with Zeal, and I've been there for the past 7 years, moving to different positions, but I'm currently the simulation technology strategist, so I get to manage all of the technology and the technology things in our center. Within the Society, I am the outgoing vice chair of the Simulation Operations and Technology section, incoming chair. I also serve on the editorial board for the Simulation Technology Operations Resource magazine, which is Storm. And then I'm also on the CHSOSA committee.
Yeah, so to be fair, the SOTS committee, I've attended several of your meetings. In fact, yesterday, 2 days ago, I tried to sneak in a little bit late, and I was trying to be respectful and stand in the back and not disrupt anything, and the first thing I did was lean on the light switch. So came right in quietly, was trying to hide back there, and then I shut the lights off. So give us an idea, like what is SOTS? What role does it play within the Society, as well as the different conferences the Society does throughout the year?
Yeah, so really the goal of SOTS is a lot of advocacy for the operations specialist. And over the last 4 years in particular, we've really been looking at advocacy and professional development for operations specialists. A lot of ops people do not have the budget to come to meetings and things like that. So a few years ago, we instituted a new educational program. So we've been doing monthly webinars. Those started out sort of on our own, but they actually got folded into the SSH Sim series webinars. So we're one of the only groups that has a dedicated day and time every single month as part of that series. So we do that almost every single month. There are a few we take off, the month of SimOps and the month of IMSH being ones, but really working within the Society to make sure that there is exposure to what operations people are doing, but then also offering different opportunities for operations folks to get professional development, whether it's at conferences or through webinars and things like that.
And we've started also sponsoring courses at the conferences, so sponsored by SOTS courses that really look to fill gaps. So if we're seeing a gap in professional development courses, we'll sponsor a course on that. If we're seeing a gap in medical terminology or other courses, we might look for presenters to fill gaps at those conferences.
And I have noticed the society has taken obvious steps to try and improve more operations content, being especially at IMSH. I mean, last year in LA, they actually contacted us pretty last minute, and said, hey, we have a need. We need more operations content. And that is very much due to the work that you guys are doing. That's coming out of your section.
Yeah, so the last couple of years I've been the lead for the operations specialist track at IMSH, and so I've been creating a document that tracks what are the different types of jobs that operations specialists do in some more finite detail. And so we actually plug the all of the courses that are submitted to the operations track into that document and identify what things came out of different needs analysis that have been done that aren't showing up in what has been submitted, and trying to identify what content do we need and who are the experts that we know that might be able to fill some of that.
So again, I know you talked about Storm for a minute as well. Give us a rundown on what that is. I know we've had one issue come out already, right?
Yes, we had our first issue in September. So Storm is the Simulation Technology and Operations Resource magazine. It is a publication really intended to showcase operations and technology community interest pieces. It is a fully peer-reviewed publication, and it's actually free to everyone. You don't have to be an SSH member to access it. You don't have to be an SSH member to submit. They're really open to everything, but it's published in the Sim Spotlight, so the emails that you receive on a Wednesday. We're aiming for somewhere between 2 to 4 publications a year, and just looking for the content that people may not feel is submittable to like the full journal, but has a place and a need in the community.
So more operations content, not necessarily pure research, right?
Yeah, and like looking for open source things. So you made a task trainer to do a thing, show us how you did it and how we can recreate it.
What other projects are you guys working on as far as so one of the things we wanted to do when we were talking about this is talk about other membership benefits. So what are some of the overlooked membership benefits of being a part of the Society of Simulation and Healthcare?
That's a good question. So there's kind of so many things that you can get involved in. So depending on what your interest is, and maybe it's not just operations and technology, or that is your interest, but there are other things you want to dabble in, there's certainly so many opportunities to sort of cross-pollinate, as I like to call it. Mm-hmm. So if there is something you're interested in, there's a section or a special interest group or an affinity group that you can join. You do have to be a member for the sections, but the other two are available to non-members as well. So lots of webinars are also available, whether you're a member or not, but members can apply actually to get credit for those. So if you're one of those folks who need those formal CEUs, they are available for a reasonable price, which is great. Mm-hmm. So if you have that certification, whether it's medical or otherwise, definitely want to make sure you have those. But really the engagement opportunities are one of the most important things. We succeed in groups. We want to make sure that we can, there's a lot of lone wolves out there or really small teams. So being able to find like-minded folks to work together with is really one of the biggest things. So that networking opportunity is huge within the society.
And we're really passionate about that. And it's, especially if you feel like that lone wolf, you're not. And believe me, there are so many opportunities inside the Society of Simulation Healthcare that you can find your niche and grow that niche. And that effect will be felt in the entire industry. And there's not a lot of industries that you can do things like that. You can change the world with the work you put in and the involvement and the engagement you put in.
Absolutely.
So Melissa, as you're exiting after your year, as the chair of the SOTS committee, what have you accomplished in the last 12 months?
That you're proud of.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Gosh, I mean, the educational content is one of the biggest things that I've been working on over the last 4 years. So Sean Kavanaugh and I started that 4 years ago, and we've just kept it going. So in the last 2 years, we actually not only have our own education team within SOTS, but we appointed 2 chairs to really help drive that content. So, Amy and I are tasked with a lot of things within our roles. So being able to have 2 additional members really drive a lot of content, finding new presenters and things like that. So they took on a lot of that. But what that allows us to do is not rely on the society's education committee, we don't have to have them do review of our courses. We can do review because we have our own people that can do that. So that allows us to keep it in-house. It's our own peers looking at our own work.
And I think it's important to say, this is not your full-time job.
This is not.
No, this is all our bonus volunteer service.
But it's, really benefiting all of us. So we appreciate that time that you put into this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a passion project. I mean, if we didn't like doing it, we definitely would not be able to accomplish this stuff. So being able to do things like have interactive courses, business meetings. I mean, we do that on an every other month basis, but at SimOps and IMSH, we get to have some fun and be in person. Amy and I have really done a lot of games and, silly prizes, whether it's a gift card or, candy. There were literally sacks of candy at SimOps this year. So
awesome stickers.
Stickers.
Yes.
So a lot of advocacy. We came up with this project this year called #MoreThanJustASimTech. We want to highlight as a positive, we are more than just a SimTech, right? So we really want to talk about what are the other things. Let's break the mold of people thinking about us just operating mannequins, right? There is more to us than just that. I mean, we know we have frameworks that tell us there are so many things that we do. However, when you talk to a lot of people, they go, so you operate mannequins. And there's a few more things to that. So we want to keep that. We want to highlight what other things do you do in your role?
It's not just the other people, it's ourselves too. I've met, I think, 3 people so far that have introduced themselves to me as, oh, I'm just a SimTech. And I'm like, hold on, let me get you some stickers because you are so much more.
One of my operations specialists just did that. Introduced himself to a classroom full of flight nurses and paramedics a few weeks ago, and I was there. We were in Syracuse, and he said, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'll leave his name out of it. He said, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm Sim Operations. I run the mannequins. And I'm like, Jesus, dude, you do so much more than that. But, that is language that people outside of simulation can easily understand.
It's
but
true.
we do need to take that a step further in how we describe their roles.
Yeah.
So with Melissa, you stepping out, Amy coming in. Amy, what's the next 12 months look like?
Yes, so we've got big plans. Importantly, we are aiming to have at least 4 work groups with chairs. Last 2 years, we had chairs for our education work group. This year, we're going to branch out. We're looking for volunteers to step up, and I think our goal is 4 work groups with 4 chairs. We're even saying there can be multiple chairs, spread the workload a little more. So we're aiming for a lot more engagement from our SOTS membership, our membership pool. And so we're really hoping we can get some more people engaged. We had a great meeting here at IMSH. Seems like we got lots of responses, still going through them. But we've got our education work group that will continue. We've got our nominations work group that does important work as well. That group actually reviews the Operations Specialist of the Year award. They review the nominees and come to a final decision, which is very important.
It was just announced.
Yeah.
Yes, that is an award through SSH. So, and then we have our own SOTS awards that we like to give. Again, it's really important to recognize the people in the simulation operations community that are doing great things. So the nominations work group does that, and then we have 3 actually. Oh my gosh, we have 5 work groups we're planning on.
5. Yeah.
So we have 2 that have been content that has come out of the last 2 years that has a need and a desire for our community. So we have one need for equipment purchasing and standardizing and really thinking about that process. So we have some interest in members working on that. And then onboarding SimOps specialists. As we all know, when you know one sim center, you know one sim center. And when you know one onboarding plan, you know one onboarding plan.
Exactly.
So we have a group kind of wanting to work on what onboarding looks like, and is there ways we can work together, share resources, and really provide that content to the community. And then our final work group is hoping to kind of promote and engage the community in the simulation operations and technology section. So we're calling that our SOTS Promotion and Engagement Work Group, SPEW. And we're looking for members that will help with things like our biannual newsletters, our Healthcare Simulation Week content, because we always like to put stuff out. And so we'd like more assistance working on those types of things.
Advocacy is going to continue to be really at the heart of a lot of what is going on in the SOTS group.
Very good. I like the onboarding topic too, because that's been a hot topic of not just where to find future simulation operations specialists, but then what do you do with them, and who's the one that's going to train them, and how to do that.
All right. Well, I mean, guys, I know you've got other commitments to get to. It's a very busy couple of hours that we run through all these. Any parting thoughts? Anything you want the greater community to know specifically about SOTS, about the work you guys are doing here? Just let us have it.
Or any member benefits or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is endless opportunities. Keep your eye out. Definitely take a look at SimConnect and see what kind of communities are out there. Make sure you formally join them through your bio on the SSH website. And keep an eye out for calls for service. There are a lot of different things you can get involved in, short-term and long-term. But the one thing I'm going to leave us with, to go back to something that sort of was just happening, is if you do one thing after this podcast, stop using the word just.
Exactly.
Yes.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Amy, any parting thoughts?
What's the one thing you wish you could tell every incoming new SOS?
I think it's that you need to reach out of your comfort zone and meet new people. That's where these connections and these opportunities are going to come from. If you continue just doing your thing in your space and in your lines, it's going to be really hard to grow. So you need to, whether you can go to conferences, that's great, but even if it's just reaching out to people on social media, sending emails from presenters from webinars, you need to meet new people in your community and really expand that, because that's how you're going to learn to grow in your role.
Well, and I want to highlight something too, just the work that the two of you have done. So I've attended the last probably 4-ish meetings you guys have done. That I'm trying to think back of the locations where we've done these, and every time I've walked into one of those rooms, it's more and more packed than the time before it. And like I said yesterday, it was standing room only because I showed up 3 minutes late for something, right, and then leaned on the light switch. The SimOps that we did last year in Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. That massive conference room just completely filled full of people. And so I'm definitely watching this grow. I know you guys have both had a significant part in that. So keep up the great work that you're doing. Even as you're stepping out, obviously you're going to stay involved as this goes forward.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, so from the show floor of IMSH 2023 in Orlando, Florida, thank you for joining us, and make sure that you get involved. That was the one I'm going to say is they're putting a lot of work in, and they need your help, so please get involved.